Welcome to today's broadcast of Sun, Salt, and Light. Sun, Salt, and Light, S-O-N, knowing and growing in your daily relationship with Jesus Christ, but also being the salt and the light in your marriage, in your family, at your place of work, at your church, and even in the community you're in. I'm Pastor Michael Petit. This is a radio ministry of our church, Calvary Chapel Divine, here in Divine, Texas. We are so glad that you joined us for today's broadcast. We are a Calvary Chapel, so we simply teach the Bible verse by verse, chapter by chapter. We believe that God uses His Word to transform, restore, and to change lives one verse at a time. If you're visiting our area, you'd like to get information about our church or church service times, maybe even track down some of the other teachings that we have available through podcast, whether it's through Audible or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can do all of that at our church website at calvarydivine.org. That's calvarydivine.org.
Biblical Christian, no culture Christian. It's I must have read the chapter probably about 5 times. And each time I read it, I got something more out of it. And I saw something that I missed. Or I read something that I missed, put it that way. So I asked my lovely wife to help me out, kind of to outline it. And but before I get to that, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I was raised with a mom and dad, which I'm blessed because of that. I was brought up in a farm and ranch, pretty much into my teen years. There for a while. I think I was maybe 13 years old, 12, 13 years old. My mom got breast cancer. She had to seek chemo. Back then, this must have been, probably in the late 70s. No, early 80s. No, late 70s, because I was still young. And procedures back then versus procedures now in breast cancer, it was a lot different. I mean, it was, later on we found out by my sisters and other doctors that whoever performed the operation pretty much did a bad job. Okay. Thank God the cancer was removed. She lived cancer-free until she passed at the age of 85. So we had her for that long period of time. My dad, he passed at 72, pancreatic cancer. That's pretty much once you get that, it's not very good. Anyway, he was brought up in during the war area. Him, his 2 brothers were out of war at the same time. 2 of them were at World War II. The other one was in Korea. And thank God they all made it back home. But that changed him. He never spoke about it till in his later years when he was being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And he kind of opened up his mind to it and spoke about things. Not a lot in detail, but just small things, kind of trying to make me, maybe I guess, understand. But anyway, and Pastor Mike, in those days, men were, they didn't show that much affection. They didn't show that much love. They just drove forward and their purpose in life was to provide for the family and to work and mama have dinner at the table when he got home. Okay. And that was pretty much it right there. So I thank to my mom that she did show his affection and love. So I got a lot of that from her. But I learned those are values that you learn growing up, and if you can retain that and carry that in the future, it's definitely going to pay off. But anyway, like I said, I grew up in a farm and ranch up into my 20s. Um, I think I was 20. No, actually, I was 19 when I got married. Young man, the farmer's daughter. Okay. So, uh, small farm community. Back then, we didn't have too many mentors. All our focus was to work, and that's what we did. And my first wife, she got pregnant. I was 19 years old. I was kind of in disarray of what I'm going to do, and well, back then the right thing to do was to marry her, right away. Well, you need to marry her. You need to do this. You need to do that. But I hesitated. And I still wonder to this day why. Uh, but my dad did tell me, he said, "Well, son," he said, "you don't have to marry her, but your responsibility is that child." So he kind of gave me a choice, so to speak. And anyway, so we got married, ended up having 4 beautiful children, 2 boys and 2 girls. Fast forward to the future. Uh, Again, God was not a part of our lives. We're living in the world. Uh, and things, as they progressed, they got older, they just kind of fell apart, stuff like that. Um, it just, I'm not going to get in details. But anyway, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. But in the back of my mind, uh, I think I spoke of this a little bit about going to Catholic church. You go to church and sit there at the pew, and you're just kind of looking around, and you say to yourself, "Boy, this is a fashion show." People dressed in the best, and the ladies are wearing nice dresses and what have you. But as far as the priest, what he was preaching, they just went this way. And the missalettes, I did understand that because I learned that in catechism. How to follow that. So, that was a good thing, I guess. But anyway, um, I knew in back of my mind at that point that there was somebody else for me, somebody that God was going to put in my path. I just knew that. I just knew that. And because when I got married, I got married maybe because I had to. Did I knew what love was? I mean, I was 19 years old. I had to go work and provide. That was my duty right there. Uh, but as I got older, I knew there was something else. Something there was was ahead of me, and I need to grasp it and understand what that was. And time went on. Sadly, you hear, don't like to hear about these things, but we ended up getting divorced. Luckily, that my children were already kind of grown, so I did have a lot of time to sow into them, okay, and teach them work ethics, and try to teach them good morals the best I could. I mean, I still have to work on myself, but they grew up. They're doing well right now. Uh, as they got older, uh, their mama, and I don't want like to get into detail. It was a bitter thing. It was a bitter thing, and the kids thought I wasn't wrong, but as they got older, they understood, and they came back and talked to me about it and apologized. Said, "Dad, we're sorry we treated you this way. You know, we understand now." But anyway, then I met Mary 25 years ago, and it's been a blessing ever since. It has. She has so much grace in herself and her poise and just the way she carries herself, her persona, everything that I imagined was there, everything. And I started courting her, she wasn't easy, no doubt at all. She she came in at arm's length, you know. I had to work at it, which I did, and then anyway, ended up getting married. She had a young daughter, Alyssa, and Alyssa was 5 years old when we met. She's basically my daughter. She calls me Papa. Uh, that's all she's ever known. And we had one son between us, Jacob, which is 22 years old. He's the one currently training in San Antonio right now. But it's been a blessing, and I think as it's my thinking is God planted a seed way back then, and I just had to nurture it and water it and figure out what that was. And it takes time, so it kind of goes back here to what we're going to study today: is the biblical Christian or the culture Christian. Okay. 2007, real quick, raised my hand at Church in the Move in Roswell with Pastor Troy Smotherland. And that talked about that book. It talks about here, yes, raising your hand, professing with your mouth, the prayer, at the beginning. But you had to have faith with that and continue moving forward. And we'll see a lot of that here too as well. They receive the word, they receive the blessing, they receive the prayer, and it's a culture Christian. Okay. We'll dive into this here a little bit. Put my glasses on. Biblical Christians or cultural Christians. This is chapter 3. The problem, man says something isn't right. We live in a culture that is secular, worldly. Okay, it's and what I mean by that is we got so much. We constantly dodging arrows all the time. Constantly dodging arrows. And then, but as we're doing that, God is building our armor as we grow into our faith, and those arrows seem less and less and less, and they won't penetrate because you wearing the armor that God has given you. Poor values, personal peace, living an undisturbed regardless of the results. There's a scripture here in Romans 15:1. We must not just please ourselves, but we should help others and do what is right and build them up in the Lord. That's our job, guys. That's our job as disciples, basically, of Jesus, is to sow into our families, our children, our grandkids. As you planting that seed, you sow into them, that root spreads. Are they going to get it right away? Probably not. But you continue that. Keep pushing that. And also, an undisturbed people live, they don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be, leave me alone. I can't take care of myself. I got too many problems here already. I'm a peaceful life. I'm okay. I got a good home. I got some money. Let the neighbors take care of themselves and that kind of stuff. But you're not contributing to society. You're not contributing to your spiritual life. You're not contributing to nothing. You just exist in God's eyes. Exist. That's about it. Influence. Goal of having things, material abundance. This is a big one here. Keeping up with the Johnsons. That's what I put it. Proverbs. Trust in your money and down you go. But the godly flourishes like the leaves in the spring. Real easy right there. And I mean, I've been there. I think everybody's been there at one time. We think money's everything. We think money is the more you have, it's maybe the better that that you look in public, the better the people, the more people, the better thing that people think about you, whatever the reason might be. But as easy as it comes, it goes that easy too as well. Okay. Um, when I read this, in kind of like in a sidebar, is you store your treasures and your treasures, which your money is part of it, your spirit and all those things, in the kingdom of God. And and when I talk about this, what I mean about this is our tithes. God gave us, He allowed us to give us 90%. We just keep 10%. Well, we give Him 10%, we keep 90%. Okay, that's a pretty fair deal to me. you know, but we all have said, I had a problem with it. I did. And I used to wrestle it. And my wife used to always tell me, did you pay our tithes? Oh, yeah. And I grumbled and stuff like that. And, and shame on me, shame on me. I used to, well, I'll do 5% this time instead of 10%, you know. And, but my wife, I was deceiving her because she entrusted me to do that. And shame on me. And here's the area where God allows you to test Him. And I did. Boy, did I do that. And I, there for a while, kind of 5%, maybe 3% here, maybe once a month, that kind of stuff. And I noticed in my family, things started not going right. Okay. We used to hear about somebody calling up, they were sick. We got an unexpected bill. We had to do some work in the house. Expenses, all of a sudden just started piling up, we had to do work in one of the vehicles, stuff like that. And I said, man, what's going on? What's going on? And they just, boom, hit me like a ball of rocks. I said, I know what's going on. Got back on track. And, I still got a long ways to go. But this is a touchy subject that, I mean, it's hard to talk about, but it's biblical and it's something that needs to be done. Okay? Just like paying our taxes. And Pastor Mike talked about that last week. You got to pay your taxes. It's just part of it. Jesus did. Go to that fish over there and get that silver out of the fish's mouth, and pay the taxes. Religion has no impact on society. Okay? Jesus said, this is Matthew 7:16-23. Jesus said, by their fruits you will be known. You will know them. He meant that the true saving faith is marked by obedience to God. That simply saying one believes in Jesus is not enough. We kind of go back to the being saved again. If we know obedience to God and we keep growing in our faith, you sit there stagnant. You don't do anything. You just sit there and hope for the best. In religion nowadays, Christianity here is actually per se the biggest religion there is. Christianity, and it's just that we have let so much of the world come into us that it has misguided us and taken us a different direction. We'll get that here next. Two kinds of Christian: the culture Christian, believes but no roots, not genuine, counterfeit, defeated faith, no power. There you go. It's pretty simple right there. That's a culture Christian. I keep going back to this. We raise our hand, we profess to say the prayer, we do that, and then we expect that everything's going to be okay. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way at all. You have to continue to be obedient to God. You know what? It's if you're obedient in the small things, you'd be a lot better in the bigger things. Okay. Uh, so it's we see it in our work lives, at the workforce. Children, they get caught up with everyday life, and it's hard. It's really hard to stay focused, uh, especially as a young couple with young kids and a young family. Uh, when I come to church and I see a young family with the kids, oh, what a blessing! I hope they grasp that and keep it and keep growing and keep moving forward, because that's a blessing. He said, in fact, I'm jealous. He said, this guy's probably late 20s, early 30s, and at that age, I was living in the world. Okay, uh, so that's a blessing. You see that kind of thing. Yes, as you get older, I think there's more comprehension of the word, more comprehension of life itself, and I think maybe Pastor Greg Laurie said about this. Hey, we're getting closer to death. The older we get, we need to get our lives in order. To go through those gates, those narrow gates right there. Uh, but yeah, but it's a tough one, and I think the teachings from Calvary Church, from Pastor Mike, is waking up to us. It's an eye opener, and kind of get away from that culture beliefs. It's a journey, no doubt about that. It's a journey. But again, keep sowing to your family, keep sowing on your kids, lead by example, and they will follow. Man may now, but they will follow, maybe down the road. Biblical. Biblical Christian believes, hears, retains, and is applied to living life in obedience of God. Okay, I just kind of covered that a little bit there. Uh, what we're doing here today, that's a perfect example. Uh, you know, uh, uh, it's a constantly it's, every time you read a scripture, every time you read a book, whether it's the book of Matthew, Isaiah, uh, we're my wife and I were talking a little bit about after the readings of Isaiah, how Jacob and Esau wrestled, and how that transpired, right? I said, wow. I said, how there was deception there, so to speak. And I said, yeah. I said, these things were happening way back then, but the thing is, uh, God already knows all these things. He knows your heart. He knows what's going to happen in the next second of your life. He knows what's going to happen 10 years from your life. He knows what he's done already. And God knew these things, but I think it's a preparation of where we need to be in time. Okay. Uh, but anyway, getting back to the scriptures and all that in the books, we read it and then we'll read it again, and each time it's a different interpretation. You know, but keep going forward, and my interpretation of um, the book of Isaiah or even the book of Daniel, your interpretation may be totally different. Your interpretation may be totally different, but the meaning is there, the core, because that's how we're not all the same. We're not wired the same, but the core of the beliefs is there. We're going to the same place, and we'll get to the same place. Uh, Now, this is the very tough one right here. The lukewarm Christian. Okay. Here have we been in the frog? Have we been like the frog in the pot? Okay. Revelations 3:15, 17. I wish you were either hot or cold. But because you are neither hot or cold, I am about to spit, and my wife put in parentheses, vomit you out of my mouth. Wow, that's harsh. That is very harsh. Uh, it's something that it kind of goes back to the culture Christian, if you will. You hear something so many times you believe it. Okay, and turn on the TV, uh, propaganda. Say it over and over and over and over, and then you start believing it. Say, well, maybe I'm the stupid one. Maybe what they're telling me is the right thing to do. But that's leaving the disobedience, uh, and we see it right now. We see what's going on with current events, our political part of it right there. It's almost get to the point if you turn off the TV and do not listen to any political ads, nothing like that for a whole week, and you come back and it's the same place, same place. This and that, this and that. Who's right? Who's wrong? Who's right? Who's wrong? Okay. Um, but that right there, I'm about to spit or vomit you out of my mouth. Uh, so lukewarm, you on the fence. You want to live your life. You want to do things your way. Yes, my fingers dipped a little here, and I do believe in God. I know it's a God because I see my mama pray. Okay, I received the word, stuff like that. This other side is completely like the non-Christian. He hears the word, but doesn't retain it, and it devil Satan comes in and just takes it away, and he's gone, lost in the wilderness. Um, do you want to get involved or stir the pot? Who's number one in your life? Have you compromised your integrity? Why why do you hang around with question mark? People associate you by the crowd that you keep. Uh, Different right now. Yes, I'm retired. I don't really. When I do associate with people, it's with my brothers. So you know, you're the reflection. Okay. If I associate with a bunch of dudes that get after work every day and drink a 30-pack of beer, and they talk about whatever they talk about, that's how people perceive me, right there. It's that simple. That simple. But again, it kind of goes back to the freedom of will. God give you that will. Either, hey, you can go this way or you can go this way. And it's up to you. I can give you all the tools in my toolbox, everything. I'll give you everything you need to go this way. But if you resist not to open that toolbox and go that way, there's consequences, and there will be. Okay. Uh, Again, who's number one in your life? You got to make God number one. Then your family comes. Then, of course, for those who work, of us that work, job, stuff like that. You know, uh, integrity. That's a good one. Integrity is something that it defines you, and it's something that I really has so into my sons, my three sons. And it started simple. Say, hey, when you go meet somebody for the first time, you introduce yourself, you look them in the eye, and you give them a firm handshake. That tells a lot about a person. Versus you walk up there, and nowadays you see a bunch of little kids, and say hi, say introduce yourself. They're like this, doing this kind of stuff. There's no teaching there, right? How do you expect that child to grow up and start living in the world and start dodging those arrows when you're not doing nothing here? So those are just small things that I've taught them, and work ethics. I've showed them to work with their hands, to be critical thinkers, you know, and show them how to hunt, how to trap, how to survive, and say, hey, when electricity goes away for a period of time, stuff like that, you guys need to go and kick it into another gear and put it in survival mode, okay? And they blame me sometimes because I've become, I guess, a hoarder. Not too much, a little bit. And I kind of think I got a thing that collect a bunch of knives too, and ammunition. My wife said, so how much more do you need? I don't know. Is there a number? you know? Is there a number? I don't know. So, but, well, how do you expect to pay yourself? Well, hey, it's an investment, okay? It's different. Yeah, it is. So, anyway, stuff like that. Uh, but most importantly, as I talk to them, whether it's just send them a short text, hey, how's your day going? What's going on? Everything good? Hope you're having a good day. Let them know that I'm there. I'm there. Okay. Uh, all three of them, and then say, hey, you know, don't forget about your spiritual life. So that's most important. It said, take time of your day in the morning, afternoon, whatever it is, and just give thanks. That's it. You don't have to go full blown. Just give thanks. Thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you for my blessings. Be grateful. Um, how you conduct yourself in public, how do you conduct yourself at work. It's all integrity. Uh, Not that you're pleasing anybody else, but you're pleasing God. How do you carry yourself? Okay. Uh, the biblical Christian. Are you willing to see yourself as you really are? Make a commitment to know who God really is. In Romans, denying ourselves is evident. In Romans 12:2, denying ourselves is evident that our relationship with God is real. Denying ourselves is evidence that our relationship with God is real. How can I put that? Uh, you deny, I guess, I'm trying to, I guess if you deny yourself or something, but you know it does exist, it's, I'll use myself as an example. Uh, Conscience, your moral compass, uh, integrity, we talked about a little bit here. Uh, so, which is your soul. There's something else. That just don't happen to be just, there. Like a cat, like a dog, like animals, stuff like that. Yeah, they're somewhat obedient because you teach them. Do they have a soul and stuff like that? I don't think so. But we'll find out. There is Romans 12:2, and maybe Pastor Mike can probably do a lot better job than me in trying to paraphrase that. And then in Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek His will in all you do, and He will show you the path to take. That is so true. That just sums it up right there. Right there. Right there. Boom. If there's anything you ever want, last thing you heard was that. Right there. After I left real quick before we close it, I worked in food and manufacturing for 20 years before I got into sales. So I was like I was actually, I walk into a plant one day looking for work. Maintenance manager, what can you do? Well, I said, you know, I can weld, I can cut, I can run a plasma torch, you know, I can turn a wrench, whatever you need. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, well, come make money, fill out the paperwork, and we'll put you to work. But okay. I think $7.25 an hour then. But anyway, so I went to work, and then I put my work experience. And before I went to this manufacturing plant, which was a cannery, I worked at another chili plant, and I was a supervisor there, so I had some supervisor experience. So the HR manager went to the plant manager and said, "Hey, this guy just came looking for a job, and they gave him a job, but he's working in maintenance." And he looked at us, "Oh, this guy's got some supervisor experience, and we're looking for a supervisor." So pulled me out again. I said, "Hey, we look at it. Said, tell me about your supervisor skills and all that stuff." So I told him all that. I said, "I'll tell you what. Once we get into the season, we're going to transfer you to that row." I said, "Oh, okay. Great, you know." And so anyway, from there, I just went up. Ended up I worked there at that place for 10 years. I was a production manager. A facility. I had 500 people under my shift. Receiving, production, maintenance, warehousing, all of that. So I was responsible for 500 people. Okay. Many supervisors, had good supervisors, so it would make my job a lot easier. Anyway, so switched over. I got bored with cannery. It was a green chili plant, what it was. So we did jalapenos, green chili, we did bean dip, we did salsas, we did pretty much everything that chili, everything, even the little powders. We did that. It was just 24, boom, boom, pumping, you know, and it was a mass production. And I got tired of that. I wanted to do something different, so I switched over to dairy. That always kind of drew my interest. So Slim Fast Corporation was looking for a production supervisor. I applied, and I got the job. And not knowing anything about the dairy side, okay, but said, "Hey, this is a challenge, and I'm going to accept this challenge." And I did, and I learned it, and I did well. I did real well. And unfortunately, this was in Tucson, Arizona. The plant shut down, moved operations to Tennessee. I came back to New Mexico. There's where I landed in Roswell and went to work for Leprino Cheese, which is a mozzarella cheese company which supplies cheese to all the pizza places. Okay, big operation too. Worked there for a while. Switched. I found another job. Recruiter found me. Went to another job for a milk plant, and became a plant manager. And keep in mind, this is all with a high school degree. Okay, I was doing work with people that I had engineers under my authority. Okay, and so my goal at that point in my career, I said, my goal is to get to this position, and I did, and I succeeded. At that point in time, when I was going to that's when I started engaging more in the Word. Anyway, so you get the plant manager. There's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of politics there. I got tired of it. I left and got into sales. And I did that for another 15 years, and then I retired. But anyway, it just goes to show you the path that God takes you.
Well, that concludes today's broadcast of Sun, Salt, and Light Radio. We hope that you enjoyed it. If you'd like to submit a prayer request or get in contact with us or find out service times, you can do all of that at our website, as well as get our podcast at Spotify, Audible, TuneIn Radio, pretty much wherever you can find a podcast. You can just type in Sun, Salt, and Light and you'll find it.